Mike, check, check, check. Justin Hunt, it's all happening. Special guest of the day, the incomparable Dee-1, straight out of New Orleans.
Yes,
coming
sir.
off a world recognized shout out by Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Calling it like it is every single day. We got Dee-1 in the house. It's all happening. 9-second applause.
Hey.
Word up.
Man.
Word up, man. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate
Brother,
you.
you're a friend, bro. This is an honor for me to be here.
That's what's up, man. We were just talking a second ago about I think the first conversation we did was like in 2010.
Yes, sir.
2010 or 11 in Brooklyn.
Yep, centered around the release of my first song that went nationwide called J50 and Wheezy.
J50 Wheezy. Still resonating today.
Yep, still resonating, bro.
Still resonating today.
Dang, like it means something when I had a thought, I had a tangent back then that I was on creatively as a middle school teacher, and I was like, yo, if only I could turn this into song form, something that would resonate with the world. And I took a chance on myself. I did it. I knew it was bold subject matter to be addressing Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and Lil Wayne, the big three back then, you know? And for me to put that song out, challenging them, saying, hey, like, it's time we have a shift in this culture. And for us to be here 15 years later and for that to still be so relevant, it's definitely a telltale sign to trust your gut when you're a creative and you know that you have a hunch that something needs to be said to the world and it's coming from a pure place, even if it's not going to be popular at the time, you know?
You know, that song, at that point in time, if we're looking back in the early teens, right, 2010, 11, that also felt like a broader shift in what was happening in music. I think the blog era really started showing people that there are more artists than what we might be seeing on mass media, on the radio or on television, or Sucker Free Sunday or whatever people were watching back then. The freshman list was super influential.
Yep.
And I look back at a lot of those covers, and the number of lyricists on there always jumps out at me, like really jumps out in comparison to now. And I'm not saying a pro or a con. I'm just saying styles change or what, you know, people are promoting changes. And I remember J50 Wheezy really capturing the cultural consciousness, and it almost shocked people. It shocked people that an independent artist from New Orleans is lyrically, but also, I would say, from a morality standpoint, in my opinion, calling these men to task about what else are they doing other than selling records and liquor and hedonism. And people loved it.
Yep.
Were you surprised how big that song became?
The night before the music video came out, I had to pray, man, because a sense of fear came over me that if I was more concerned about making it in hip hop than just getting this message out there by any means necessary, that I basically was gonna have to come to terms with the fact that this might go left field and get me canceled before I even set foot in the industry on a national stage. But if I'm too worried about that, then that means I'm taking away from the opportunity to maybe reach and enlighten some people who are going to be motivated and inspired by that message. So I decided that the risk was worth it, because even if I didn't have a future career in music, this was just a message that needed to be said by somebody. And I felt like God chose me to deliver the message at the time. So when I saw that it had about a 99% approval rating from the world, that was just, like we say in New Orleans, that was lanyap, you heard me? That was, it's all gravy, baby. You know what I mean? It's almost like, oh, it's just gravy. That's icing on top, because I realized that God chose me to be a messenger. And if I'm afraid to be the messenger, he'll pick somebody else to deliver the message. So at that time, the real fear I had to overcome was, if people didn't receive the message favorably, would I be okay with that? Once I became okay with that, I think it set the stage for me to be pleasantly surprised when so many people were like, we need this young brother's voice in the culture. And I really feel like I went from a local artist to a nationwide artist with that song, J50 and Wheezy.
Do you feel like that was your first spiritual challenge when it came to releasing music?
Yeah, nothing else was hard up until that point spiritually. When it came to releasing music, it was all very safe. It's safe when you know that nobody is listening to you. You feel me? It's very safe to make music when it's like, yo, my homies who go to LSU with me in the quad, I'm passing my mixtapes out to them, the basketball, football players, some of the girls. That's who's listening. My dorm roommates are listening to me. When I started teaching middle school, my students, I was that teacher who was kind of forcing my music on my students, you know what I mean? But it was all still a safe, controlled atmosphere. So when I got to the point where, man, I hired a publicist for the first time in my life, when I pushed that song, because I felt like I just quit my job as a middle school teacher. If I'm gonna get out there, I need help in addition to myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
When I did that, I was very nervous, man. I remember putting the final edits on the music video, right? Here's another testimony. The song itself came out in April of 2009 on my album David and Goliath, right? The album was locally received well, but it didn't go anywhere past local, right? That song was on the album. Something in my gut 18 months later kept telling me, David, shoot a video for the J50 and Wheezy song. That song right there is special. I listened to my gut. We shot the video 18 months after the song had come out, right? That almost doesn't make any sense when you think nowadays the fast pace of content, right?
Right.
I reached back in the crates 18 months, shot a video for that song, and the night before it came out, I'll never forget just that feeling of like, this is going to lead to something very different than I've ever experienced. Either a lot of hate and vitriol or a lot of acclaim and a lot of admiration. And I didn't know which one it was going to be. Honestly, I didn't know which one. I prayed and I pressed upload. And my life changed.
Yeah, your life changed.
Forever.
You know one of the things that really stands out to me in that song? That was the first time, I think that's the first time I realized how educated Lil Wayne was.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about how he went to McMain.
Yep.
And
magnet school. Yep.
Right. And how, he gets it. Mm-hmm. He really gets the impact of this. Mm-hmm. And he has less of an excuse. That's how I took it.
Yes.
Right. And I always wondered what it was like for you in New Orleans after that.
Yeah.
Because, Cash Money runs everything.
Correct.
You're calling Wayne to task.
Correct.
And by association, you're calling the whole label to task for what they're doing. Correct. And that's where you're from.
Correct. So after that song came out, I'm so naive. I'm living in New Orleans still at the time. I'm driving my 1998 Honda Accord around town, being the anti-number one stunner. You know what I mean? We grew up underneath the number one stunner, and I'm like, I'm the anti-number one stunner, bro.
Okay.
Driving a 98 Honda, just, getting it how I live in a real sense. So afterwards, the city became extremely polarized because some people's admiration for Cash Money led to idolization of Cash Money. Me, I had admiration of Cash Money growing up, but I saw that some people idolized, the Cash Money regime and empire so much that anything that seemed like it was challenging it, it was seen as like, oh, you're an op. You know what I mean? So for the first time, I started to see people who wouldn't rock with me because they perceived me to be anti-Cash Money altogether. And I'm like, it's actually possible to go a layer deeper than just hearing the song and taking it at face value. It's possible to hear it and to say, this guy was actually raised by all of these artists. Like, he talks about it in the song. He's fans of them. He's just reached a point in his manhood, his adulthood, to where he's saying, we can do better. And I see the impact of us not doing better because I'm a middle school teacher, and I see the impact of this willful ignorance that a lot of hip-hop heavyweights choose to employ, and still putting a negative message out there and glorifying this negativity. I see the impact it has on my middle school students because they don't know any better, and they take everything that these artists say, do, dress, wear, and promote at face value,
I did I guess what year is this? I guess it's the 20... Is this the 20th anniversary of Katrina this year?
It was 19th anniversary. Yeah.
Excuse me. 19th anniversary. And so on my channel, I did a reaction to Lil Wayne's Georgia Bush. Mm-hmm. And that song always screams at me. I'm like, Wayne, do more of that.
Bro, I got goosebumps right now with you just saying that because I've had so many of them conversations with my boys. Like, oh, where you got this in your bag, Wayne? Like, dip into that bag more, partner. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And like, I think, and the same... It's wild for me to say this is a revelation, but it really was a revelation when you talked about Wayne going to McMain on on J50 Wheezy. Mm-hmm. when I hear songs like Georgia Bush, or when I hear his verse on Hollywood Divorce, or when I hear Shooter, right? When I hear those songs, I'm reminded that he is a rapper from the 90s when the rules were different.
Yeah.
You had to have a consciousness around way more often than not, you know? And so that song, J50 Wheezy, to me, that's one of the best parts of it, because all three of those guys in that song, at that point in time, had shown that they can have broader conversations. They understand the impact their music's having. They know exactly what's happening in their environments and their cities and where they're from. And for one reason or another, you know what, no matter how they justify it, they choose not to do that more often. And you pointing that out, it makes sense that it went so far.
That's why I chose those three artists, because I was like, what artists have immense power and immense influence in the game, but clearly they're aware that they can do better, and they're aware of how influential they are, but they just choose not to. And that's what I came up with, was J50 and Weezy at the time. When one of my middle school students came in class with MOB tattooed on his arm, and I was like, bro, you a middle schooler, like, you know what MOB stands for, right? And he looked me in my face and he said, no, sir, Mr. Augustine, I don't know what it means. And I was like, then why did you get it? He said, because Lil Wayne has it tattooed. I think it's on his chest. Yeah, he got MOB on his chest because Lil Wayne was his favorite rapper. My middle school student got MOB tatted on his arm and didn't even know what it meant. That's when I was like, yo, these adolescents are blindly following behind their favorite artists because of broken families, because of a lack of positive role models, because of people who try to reach them who don't have the relatability to hold their attention. So they're looking at rappers. And if these rappers are totally oblivious to it, or if they're totally just nonchalant about it, I want to let them know. And hopefully I'll let a lot of fans know. And two interesting moments when that song came out. One, I remember performing at a showcase in New Orleans, and Cortez Bryant, Tez, Lil Wayne's manager, was at the showcase, right? Me and Tez have a really good relationship. Like, Tez went to McMain as well. We all some smart New Orleanians, you know what I'm saying? Right. Just some dudes that come from around the streets, but super talented in different ways, and all very, 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 very mentally adept and geniuses in our own right. So I remember Tez being in the room where the showcase was going down, and I was thinking, so this is going to be interesting to perform this song at the showcase, and Tez is right over there, you know what I mean? So I didn't know Tez as well at the time, so I performed that song, and the whole time the room was packed out, but I was only fixated on that corner where I saw Tez standing at, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he just sitting there, and Tez is a very laid-back, chill dude, you know what I mean? So he just sitting there taking it in. You know, I don't know what he was thinking. I never asked him about this, but that was a big moment. And another moment is Mac Main and we were sitting on a panel together for the New Orleans Jazz Fest, right? So that's a historic festival in New Orleans. Any and everybody has performed there, including myself, including, I know J. Cole has headlined it before. Has Wayne, I know Master P performed there because I was in elementary school when we took a field trip to see Master P perform Ice Cream Man, you heard me, at the Jazz Fest. I don't know if Wayne ever performed there.
Wait. You took the kids to a field trip to see?
No. I was in elementary school.
You were in, and they took y'all
They took us
to see the Ice Cream Man, the movie?
No.
To
see Master P performing Ice Cream Man.
The
album.
The school took y'all to see Master P perform Ice Cream Man.
Bro,
I'm sorry.
New Orleans is a different place, bro. They took us on a field trip to listen to Master P perform Ice Cream Man at the Jazz Fest.
That's like awesome and awful to me at the same time.
Welcome to New Orleans.
Word up.
Straight up. So I remember me and Mac Main sitting on a panel for the Jazz Fest together, and somebody asked on the panel, they asked Mac Main a question during Q&A. They were like, have you ever heard Dee-1's song J50 and Weezy, Mac Main? And if so, has Lil Wayne heard the song? And what was his response to the song?
Yeah.
I just remember Mac is so cool, bro. I just remember Mac like laughing, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've heard the song. Yeah, Wayne has heard the song, and no comment. You know,
word up. Okay,
yeah, he didn't say what Wayne's thoughts on it were, but me and Mac still cool to this day. Yeah.
You ever find out what Wayne's thoughts were?
Never found out. But I got confirmation that he heard the song. I got confirmation that 50 Cent heard the song. I actually gave 50 Cent a CD when he came to Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2010 with that song on it. And I told 50, I was like, brother, I did a song about you, Wayne, and Jay-Z. Here you go. You know, this is on the hard disc. You know what I mean? This is an album that it was on. My album, David and Goliath, and I gave it to him. And I know he heard it because This Is 50 invited me in for an interview. I'm like, ain't no way that Jack Thriller at the time interviewed me. Ain't no way thisis50.com is inviting me in for an interview and he hadn't heard the song, you know. So so I know he heard it and they confirmed to me that he heard it. And then with Jay, who was it in Jay's camp? Somebody in Jay's camp told me that Jay heard it. Bro, I felt like my job was done at that point. They at least heard it. What they choose to do with the information, how they choose to perceive it, that's on them. But not only did they hear it, but the country definitely heard it.